During the tornado warning, my weather radio said, "Seek shelter immediately. Tornado touchdown confirmed at my exact address 20 minutes before the storm arrived." I've had that weather radio for 6 years. It sits on my kitchen counter and goes off maybe twice a year for severe thunderstorm watches. Nobody takes it seriously. The voice is robotic and generic. It reads county names. It does not read street addresses. So when I heard it from the hallway at 7:42 p.m. and the voice said, "Tornado touchdown confirmed at 4814 Granger Mill Road," I stopped walking. That's my address. I stood there long enough that the alert cycled again. Same thing. Tornado touchdown confirmed. My address. Seek shelter immediately. I went to the window first, which I know is the opposite of what you're supposed to do. The sky was yellow-green and ugly. The kind of color that makes your stomach clench without knowing why. But there was no funnel. No rotation I could see. The trees at the edge of my yard were barely moving. I picked up my phone and called the county emergency line. I got a recording telling me a tornado watch was in effect for my county and to monitor local alerts. Not a warning. A watch. There was no confirmed tornado anywhere in the county. I checked the National Weather Service app. Watch, not warning. Radar showed a storm cell 40 miles southwest and tracking northeast, but nothing on the ground. So my weather radio was announcing a tornado at my exact address 20 minutes before the storm would even arrive. That's not a malfunction. Weather radios don't pull addresses from anywhere. They broadcast county-level alerts from the NWS feed. There's no mechanism for a specific street address to appear in that broadcast. None. I called my neighbor Deb, a retired meteorologist. She picked up on the second ring. "Deb, my weather radio just announced a tornado touchdown at my exact address." Pause. "That's not possible." "I know. Play it for me." I held the phone up. The alert cycled again. I heard her inhale sharply. "Okay," she said slowly. "That is not a standard NWS broadcast. That's a modified tone sequence. Someone edited that alert. Who edits weather radio alerts? Nobody. You need a licensed transmitter and FCC authorization to broadcast on those frequencies. Someone went to a lot of trouble to put that message in your house." My whole body went cold. I started moving then, checking doors, windows. Back door was locked, front door locked. I went upstairs and that's when I noticed my bedroom window was cracked open about 2 inches. I always keep it shut. I hadn't opened it. I pulled it down and locked it. I came back downstairs and the alert cycled again, except this time it was different. "Seek shelter immediately. He's already inside." I ran out the front door. I didn't grab my phone charger or my shoes. I just ran across the yard to Deb's house in my socks and pounded on her door. She opened it and her face changed when she saw mine. We called 911 from her kitchen. Officers arrived in 4 minutes. They cleared my house room by room. In my basement utility closet behind the water heater, they found a man crouched with a duffel bag and a modified FM transmitter, the kind used to hijack radio frequencies at close range. He'd been in there long enough that he'd eaten through most of a granola bar he'd brought. He'd been watching my house for weeks. He knew I lived alone. He knew my routine. He knew I had that weather radio because he'd looked through my kitchen window enough times to clock exactly where it sat on the counter. His plan was to use the fake tornado alert to send me to the basement, into the utility closet, where he'd be waiting. The thing he didn't count on, he'd modified the alert with a voice synthesizer that couldn't replicate the exact NWS tone sequencing correctly. Deb caught it in about 4 seconds. The second alert, the one that said he was already inside, the police asked me about that. Turned out the transmitter had a motion sensor trigger. When I came back downstairs after locking the bedroom window, I walked close enough to the utility closet door that the sensor fired and broadcast the pre-recorded second message. He programmed it as a backup threat, something to freeze me in place. Instead, it saved my life. The storm hit 40 minutes later, an EF1. It took off half of Deb's back fence and knocked a tree onto my driveway. I watched it from her living room window, wrapped in a blanket she dug out of a closet, drinking terrible instant coffee. She looked at me and said, "You know what's funny? Nothing yet," I said. "If he'd used literally any other emergency message, you probably would have just gone to the basement like he wanted." She was right. A generic tornado warning and I'm sheltering in place like a good little homeowner. But he used my address, and I've had that radio for 6 years, and it has never once said my address. Sometimes the thing that's supposed to scare you into the trap is exactly what gets you out of it.